You dumb bastard. It's not a schooner, it's a sailboat.
Welcome into Dragon Ball Super Hero. My name is Kyle. Thank you for checking this out. Ha ha ha, you dumb bastards. That was my response earlier this week when there was a tease from, I believe, the DBS Movie 2015 Twitter account. It said, Red Ribbon Army Revival is near, with like a question mark, and somehow people took that and said, oh my god, are we getting an anime announcement tomorrow? I posted it up in our Facebook group, Roshi's Secret Stash, and said, hey, steady on this, like, take it easy. This is probably just something related to the movie. Well, sure enough, it's just something related to the movie. First of all, what that announcement ends up being, right? It's a TV special featuring Toshio Furukawa, the voice of Piccolo in Japan. I think a couple of the animators, maybe a producer, just like talking about the film on a television special to sort of promote that they're releasing the movie on BluRay in Japan with this cool, nice, like steel book packaging. It looks pretty cool if you have not seen that. So that's what the announcement ended up being. Everybody wants there to be an announcement for the return of this anime. Myself, probably at the front of that goddamn line. However, it reminded me, I just played that Mallrats clip, with Willem and the sailboat and shit. Because that's my natural reaction. Ha 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 ha, you dumb bastards. I don't mean that in a mean way, but like, be careful of the content you're consuming and who it's coming from. But it really reminded me of this other scene from a movie. It's the Weird Al movie from 1989, UHF. By the way, if you haven't watched the Al biopic that just came out on Roku TV, you should. That shit's hilarious. But it reminds me of this scene in the UHF. Basically, the long and the short of the film is they have their own independent television station. They have to come up with programming, all these crazy TV shows. One of them, the TV shows, is a show called The Wheel of Fish, hosted by Cooney. And in this scene I'm about to give you the audio for, a woman spins the wheel. I believe her name is Weaver, Miss Weaver. And she gets a red snapper, okay? Now she has the choice. Keep the fish or, and I'll tell you how this reminds me of the Dragon Ball fandom in just a moment on the other side of this audio.
Okay, Weaver, listen carefully. You can hold on to your red snapper, or you can go for what's in the box that Hiro-san is bringing down the aisle right now. What's it gonna be?
What's it gonna be? Fish in hand, or...
I'll take the box! The box!
You took the box! Let's see what's in the box! Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Stupid! You're so stupid!
Okay, so I yell stupid, you are so stupid, like literally 50 times a day. Maybe not out loud, but in my head, it's something I've always just said as a child. It's one of my favorite lines and one of the most memorable scenes in the movie, in my opinion. But fish in hand here is the fact that our red snapper, if you will, as Dragon Ball fans is, we know that this shit is coming back. Okay? We just don't necessarily know when. But every once in a while, a box comes along in the form of somebody giving some hints about maybe an announcement coming soon or be on the lookout because some big shit's happening. And we're like, ooh, I want to take that. What's in that box? What's in that content creator's box? A shred of fucking hope. And then the day comes and goes, and there's nothing in the box. Stupid. We are, as a fandom collectively, so stupid. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that at the top, okay? We have a couple of other things to talk about in terms of, I guess, kind of related to this announcement, but also just like related to the next manga chapter. Truth be told, I sat down and recorded like the first 20 minutes of this podcast last night, and it just was not going well. And I'd said, fuck this, and deleted it, and I'm restarting it now. So it's Friday morning right now. If all goes according to plan, you're probably listening to this on Patreon over the weekend or on the public feed next Monday. If you are checking out the Patreon feed for the first time to get this free episode early, consider subscribing. That's all I'll say. So with no announcement happening this week, I mean, it was obvious to me that it was going to be something superhero related, right? If they were to make an announcement, I don't feel like it would come in the middle of a random fucking week. They're going to probably hold off to do it at some sort of event, just like we do here in the States with our big nerdy properties. They wait till a convention happens and they show off some trailers there or whatever. Make announcements, whatever. So if you're a longtime listener of this show, you know that in the month of December every year for the last fucking 4 years or whatever it's been, we routinely get ready to have our hearts broken on this show. We assume every year that an announcement of the Dragon Ball anime returning will come at Jumpfesta. Jumpfesta is, Shonen Jump's like big convention panel day. It's actually a weekend, but they do have a Dragon Ball panel planned for Sunday, December 18th at 4:20 Japan Standard Time. 4:20 p.m. Japan Standard Time, which I believe is like 2 a.m. here in the States if we're on the East Coast, this Saturday before. So Saturday going into Sunday morning. Hopefully, if DBS Chronicles rumors have been true that he's been dropping hints about the last few months that there's going to be a Dragon Ball anime web exclusive full episodes that do not pick up off of the events of Dragon Ball Super, do something completely independent of those events. If those rumors are true, this would be the place to make that announcement. A lot of people kind of shit on Chronicles this week because nothing came from that Red Ribbon Army hint thing. And he didn't say anything would, just to be fair to the guy. He didn't say anything would. He was actually one of the first people to say, this is probably going to be something related to the movie. I saw Geekdom catching some flack out there. I saw Black Bulma catching some flack out there. All friends of the show, right? Chronicles had really solid leaks when it came to the plot for Dragon Ball Super Hero. And that comes from me, somebody who got those leaks and spent an entire episode calling him a liar, and that these things were so outlandish that there's almost no way they could come true. And sure enough, every single one came true. I made the following episode after that basically just saying, wow, my bad, because we saw the movie, whatever, a few weeks later. With his credibility as a leaker, now to me anyway, this is just my own opinion. This is not the opinion of the community, especially not this week. But when he came out at the end of August, beginning of September, hinting that there's going to be a web exclusive anime, he didn't really say much more about it, but has since gone on to give some more details about who's going to be involved in the series, who's going to be working on it. And even back in September, I was like, web exclusive, full length episodes, not tied to Super. Those are very like unique, distinctive details about whatever it is he's saying. It sounds like if he were to be making it up, he would probably take an easier route to make it up. And by that I mean, like, why not just say Dragon Ball Super's coming back and they're going to pick up with the Moro arc? That's the easy, obvious lie. If he were to be lying, which I don't think he is. So for him to kind of say that softly back then, not really gloat or say too much about it since, people do ask him about it, whatever. Over the last couple of weeks, he's come out with a few more details on it. And it's more, not so much with the series itself, but like who's working on it. And if these things are true, I believe they are, it's big, man. It's going to be fucking big. So big to the point that I can't believe they're only going to limit this to a web series by itself. If these people are truly involved in this, it makes zero sense to me that they wouldn't eventually look to put this on television. So these three people, we'll get the first one, the big one, the obvious one. Akira Toriyama, the creator of the Dragon Ball series, is involved in the production of the upcoming 2023 Dragon Ball anime. That's a direct quote from DBS Chronicles. Involved? Yeah, of course he's involved. He's Toriyama, man. Probably has some ideas, some character designs, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be a super hands-on role, which is fine. Let him continue to build out, the Toriyama canon between the movies and the manga with Toyotaro. That's fine. Here are the big ones for me. Chikashi Kubota. He's the animation director of Dragon Ball Super Hero. Stick with me on this. He's actively involved in the production of the upcoming 2023 Dragon Ball anime. He's not the guy who did all the CGI stuff. He's the guy who did the absolute best looking part of the film. He's the guy who did the absolute best looking part of the film in that first flashback in the beginning of Goku taking down the Red Ribbon Army and then everything to that point. All that 2D animation, that was Kubota. Kubota. I'm trying to say it like I'm not an ignorant asshole. And then the third one, this is the biggest one for me. And I'm curious to see how the two styles between Kubota and this person are going to mesh. Yes, Naohiro Shintani. Naohiro? Naohiro. Naohiro Shintani, I believe is how you're supposed to say his first name. We've only just called him Shintani over the years. Personally, I didn't even know he had a first name or a last name. Japanese is confusing, dog. Anyway, he's the character designer of Dragon Ball Super Broly and is actively involved in the production of the 2023 upcoming anime. Dude, if all of that's true, not so much the Toriyama thing, that's kind of obvious. Whatever iteration of Dragon Ball comes forward, he's going to be involved somehow. It could be like the level of involvement he had with Dragon Ball GT for all we know, but yeah, he's going to be involved somehow. Those two designers, those two animation directors, or the character designer is Shintani, and then the animation director is Kubota. They've made some of the best looking Dragon Ball I've ever seen in my life in these last two films. The Broly movie, the Shintani style throughout, those character designs were so fucking nice, man. And then I wasn't, as most of us weren't, big fans of the CGI stuff that happened in Super Hero. I did enjoy that first flashback at the beginning of the movie. That 2D style was beautiful. The best part of the movie, visually speaking. So let's hope Jumpfesta goes it's the weekend of the 18th. So what's that? The 16th, 17th, 18th in Japan. So let's hope we get some confirmation about a brand new series. Anyway, a couple of other things that came out this week for Dragon Ball related stuff that's like, confirmed. So what I wanted to do is read you this first one that came out maybe 3 or 4 days ago. It's an excerpt from Shonen Jump that just hints at what the next chapter arc in general are going to look like. We all know it's going to involve Goten and Trunks. That's, as we say, super dope. It reads, the long-awaited new arc finally begins. The next heroes will be you two. The main characters are now Trunks and Goten? A prequel that connects the Dragon Ball Super Hero movie. While Goku and Vegeta are training on Beerus' planet, brand new heroes are born on Earth. Their secret identities are their sons? Trunks and Goten? Question mark, exclamation point. Why is it so hard for me to speak today? I'm having a tough time this week. I feel like I'm getting a little sick, but it shouldn't impact my ability to read words, but, it is what it is. Anyway, last episode, I said that will be what this chapter will be, and then Shonen Jump was nice enough to listen to me and write up a nice little paragraph for me to share with thee. Did you get all that? Good. Great Saiyaman, 3 and 4? Are they even going to go by the Saiyamans? I hope they don't. Although I was thinking, looking at the designs, right? I remember hearing about the Great Saiyaman when I was a kid before I got to watch it. Like before it came to the States, before I had those bootlegs from my uncle at the time. I just knew that Gohan gets older after Cell and he goes to high school and he becomes a superhero. And when I heard the name, the Great Saiyaman, I was like, what? So he dresses up like a superhero Saiyan dude? That sounds fucking sick. Now, Saiyaman is obviously a very comedic character, right? And does not really have any of the badassery that you would, paint onto the idea of a Super Saiyan superhero, right? He's just some goofy fuck who goes Super Saiyan sometimes. Bandana sometimes, helmets other days, who knows? Goten and Trunks' designs, dude, they have the Saiyan armor worked into it. And I don't know, it's not a big deal. I just thought it made me think of that. I thought it was worth mentioning that's the direction they're going to be going. Saiyaman 3 and 4, whatever the fuck they choose to call themselves, and they actually have Saiyan armor, and I'm down for that. So that comes out the next day. Toriyama has a quote released via the manga, as they put it, anime manga. So that was a confusing thing to some people for some reason, but literally all that means, they put out the movie and then they take a bunch of stills from the movie, reformat them into a manga to release as promotional material for the movie. Anime turned into a manga and a manga. That's it. Nothing confusing there. I saw a lot of people have questions about that in various Dragon Ball communities the last couple days. Come on. So the quote comes from Toriyama, released in that publication, and this is what it says. The movies up to now have followed major episodes in the 10 years between the original manga's Majin Buu arc and the final chapter. Super Hero is a story right before the final chapter. Thanks to the excellent director and staff, it was well received as the best yet by all those who saw it. I'm glad I was able to take part in it too, if I may toot my own horn. With the anime comics, you can easily enjoy that consistently wonderful quality and might also discover many new things. Please check out every little nook and cranny. Akira Toriyama. So this doesn't say, it says anime comics, but anime manga, same thing. So the big news there is, and it's obvious, and I don't understand how this was big news, but I am talking about it. It's stupid. It's so obvious. All of this has been so obvious to me. How has it not been obvious to the rest of y'all? We're coming up on the end of this 10-year arc and approaching the end of Z. Yep. I knew that. You know how I knew that? Because of how Goten and Trunks and Pan looked in the fucking superhero movie. How is this a thing that people are still confused about? But whatever. It's good to know that they're doing a superhero prequel in the manga. They're not going to fully adapt the comic book. They're not going to fully adapt the movie into the comic book as like a proper arc. It's going to be that one-off publication. So once this Goten and Trunks prequel story to Superhero is over, and he says Superhero is the last story that happens before the end of Z, we could be seeing the retcon of the end of Z or us moving beyond the end of Z soon. Like maybe before June of next year. That's pretty soon. Finally, we could be getting there, boys. Here's the other thing too, and I think it ties back to something I've unfortunately had to talk about a bunch this year. It's just the confusion of what's canon and when do events take place and blah, blah, blah. I've realized it's very confusing for a lot of people out in the fandom. Generally speaking, you as a Super Dope listener, I pray that you're well informed. I've talked about it way too much. I don't want to talk about it more than I have to today, but I don't know. A lot of people saw this news and they were like, oh, confirmed. Superhero happens after Granola. And it's like, yeah, no shit. How is this a question? How is this something you're confused about? So, Tournament of Power, right? Broly, Moro, Granola, Superhero. That's not hard. I'm going to do it again. Tournament of Power, Broly, Moro, Granola, Superhero. Easy, right? It's almost like they're meant to take place in the timeline in the order in which they came out, which is just absolutely crazy to think about. It's almost like they gave you other hints too with the age of Goten and Trunks and Pan. So Pan at the end of Z is like 4, I believe, going on 5. She might be actually 5 in the dub, but in Japanese, she's 4. We know from Dragon Ball Super Hero that she's 3 and she's going to like preschool or whatever. So there's less than a year until her age makes that math work out to get to the end of Z. Here's the other thing though. And it's something we talked about, I don't know, a million times over the years, but Dragon Ball Super has intentionally been set up to be able to burn through as little of those 10 years as possible. Like the entirety of the Tournament of Power takes place in 48 minutes. If you don't count like the recruitment and the afterward stuff, that battle, 48 minutes long. 48 minutes out of a 10-year span of time. So it's just been Granola. Like they travel there. It takes them, I think, 3 weeks to get to and from. And the fight is over the course of one day. Broly, that fight, one day. My point is, even though Toriyama is saying we're coming up on the end of Z, if they really wanted to, they could turn this Goten and Trunks arc into like a year's worth of material. I don't think they will, but they could. I wouldn't even hate it. I'd get to hate it, I'm sure. I would eventually learn to hate it. I learned to hate everything. That's my gift. But my point in saying it is they could draw out as much time as they want. So I don't know if that helps kind of clear like what the bullshit was this week or the last couple of weeks with the fandom. Those are the quotes. I hope I explained them to you well. Hopefully it makes sense. And really like the hope for this month, boys and girls. I think we've got a few girls. Hello, girls. The hope for this month is we get an announcement for an anime to return at Jumpfesta the week before Christmas. We do this every year on the show. Let's hope for an early Christmas gift. And one last thing I wanted to mention on this before I move on to the less fun half of this episode. I really hope that this web like spin-off comic thing is true. Or spin-off anime. I really hope it's true. I want it to be a spin-off so badly. I feel like I've said this now like 5 times in the last 5 minutes, but over the years I've talked about it. Dragon Ball Super as a TV series was way more fun than what it's going to be when the Dragon Ball Super TV series comes back, because we genuinely did not know what was going to happen week to week on Dragon Ball Super for the first 131 episodes. It was a brand new story for the most part, save for the recycling the movies at the beginning, but we really had no idea what was going to happen. Tournament of Power format benefited greatly from that. It was like a must-watch event every single week. It was sick, dude. When it comes back with the manga out and a few arcs ahead, we already know what happens. I'm still going to watch it, like, immediately. It's still going to be appointment viewing for me. But it's not going to have that same uncertainty. You know what I mean? So the idea that they might make a new anime that's completely independent of the comic book and be its own story, that's what's fucking up. I'm all about that stuff. That song wasn't even that bad considering I didn't realize it was a song until halfway through. All right, so that's Dragon Ball stuff for the week. I was going to put out an episode earlier in the week. I was supposed to record one last week with Jean-Claude Mini Van Dan. Mini Van Dan and I haven't hung out in a bit. He's got like kids and 6 jobs and a wife. So, he's a busy dude, but he was going to come by last week and got picked up a stomach bug from his son and was like, ill for, 24, 48 hours. So we were going to do an episode about primarily Jason David Frank and the Green Ranger and Power Rangers and all that stuff. So I went into research mode and like started putting together what we were going to watch and what we were going to talk about. And then he gets sick and cancels a few hours before. And I was like, whatever. I'm not going to record one by myself. That was last Friday. This is Friday of this week, Friday morning. I'm recording this, right? So over the last week, I haven't consumed a bunch of it, but I've consumed a bit of Power Rangers content. Some old episodes from when I was a kid that I sort of remembered, episodes from seasons I never watched, and then just like a lot of behind the scenes stuff with the cast and people that I knew as characters back then. And I'm not sure why. I guess that's like part of the grieving process when you lose a celebrity that you like. I don't know. I think the fact that JDF took his own life. I mean, I've had too many friends do that the last few years. The last 5 years, specifically, a couple of, they weren't all inherent suicides. Some of them were like suicide by drugs. But anyway, that's some sad stuff. But thinking about those friends of mine, to know that a dude who, from the outside looking in, he seemed like the coolest guy in the world, a little too cool, if you know what I mean. I'll come back to it, but I don't know, man. Guy seemed like, as somebody who watched him from afar for a long time, going to conventions and stuff, never really directly interacting with him. I was just like, this guy seems like he loves himself so much. And to know that he took his own life because he was going through a terrible time in his life, it really resonated, or I don't know, it gut punched me. He was not my favorite Ranger when I was a kid by any stretch. I was a Jason stan all day, every day. I actually kind of didn't like Tommy when he first came in. So I was like, what the fuck, man? You were evil. Now you lead the fucking team. What the hell is this? This is bullshit. Bring back my boy, ASJ, Austin St. John. But I don't know, man. I wasn't even going to do anything about it. I was just going to watch the episodes and have that be part of my grieving process and that be it. But a couple of things made me want to at least talk about it briefly. I'm not going to make this super long, but his wife, Tammy Frank, came out and she's made some statements about what happened. And it's really no secret that, you know, they were separated last year. They separated in the wake of Tammy's daughter dying unexpectedly. I'm not sure. I could be suicide as well. The article that I read didn't state that, but I did read that elsewhere. And the person who found her was Jason David Frank. He found the daughter, and it fucked him up, man. And him and his wife, you know, she says it in the article, like, they lived fairly normal lives. Like, they had, you know, a regular house and a regular family dynamic, except Jason would go out, you know, every fucking weekend to go do a convention and go sign autographs and make money. Like, that was his main source of income outside of his karate schools and things like that. So they separated in the wake of that terrible fucking tragedy that befell their family. They separated, didn't get officially divorced. They were trying to work through some things. And I guess they went and did, I think it was like a country dancing event, convention. I don't know. They went and did a thing they enjoyed as a couple to try to like reconcile and have a good time together. And I guess they got into a fight. She went downstairs to go get some snacks and like kind of give them a couple minutes to cool off, or whatever their fight was about. Who knows? Obviously, it's about their marriage. I assume he wanted to stay together and she didn't. So she walked downstairs, came back up. This is all her story, by the way. I'm not making this up. I haven't heard that she officially said this. I should have done the responsible thing and kept the link, but whatever, not a big deal. She came back upstairs 10, 15 minutes later, and the guy had taken his own life. It's fucking heartbreaking. Like, all things considered. Like, the guy had some terrible things happen to him. From people I talked to and people I know, it sounded like, you know, money problems were certainly a factor as well. And that's not me talking out of school or anything. I don't want to get specific on what I know and don't know and who I did or didn't hear it from, but there was a reason that guy was doing appearances left and right. He did appearances at every local toy vault here in the New England area, a company I used to work for, and I still know a lot of people who work there. I didn't hear this from them, but when I saw that JDF was doing appearances at every one of the stores, not just like a couple of the bigger stores, I was like, ooh, that man really wants to make a buck. That was like over the course of the summer, I believe. Guy had a lot of shit going on. And now his wife, I don't know, I'm not going to say ex-wife, they didn't get divorced, but it's fucked up to me that she's now facing online harassment and like people calling her house and like screaming at her from like deranged fucking perpetually online Power Rangers fans. It's fucking crazy to me that these people are calling her and threatening her and harassing her because they lost their hero. She made him kill himself or whatever. Like, I know I complain a lot about Dragon Ball fans. I would hope, fucking pray, we would never stoop to the level that some of these crazy ass devoted Power Rangers fans have stooped to. Then again, I don't know. I remember 2018, 2019 pretty vividly with all the shit we all dealt with as a community back then. So maybe I'm wrong, but just like, I don't know, try to like separate the person, Jason David Frank, and his, you know, tragically beautiful cut short life. I don't know. That's probably a terrible way to say what I just said. My point is he lived a beautiful life, but it was obviously drenched in tragedy throughout. And it ended the way it ended. Because he lived the way he lived or had his life go the way it went, it does not mean or like take away from anything that you feel about Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger. It certainly shouldn't fucking inspire you to pick up the phone and call and harass his fucking widow, you goddamn chuds. What the fuck's wrong with you people? Ugh. It's annoying too, because like as I've gone through this thing where I'm like, oh, Power Rangers is cool. Let me watch some of this old shit. R.I.P. JDF, but let's take a walk down memory lane a little bit. I've been having more and more Power Rangers shit recommended to me in social media apps. And on Facebook, at least, I get a lot of like Power Rangers, Power Morphin group, shit like that. And it's just like tributes to fucking Jason David Frank and these long fucking paragraphs of these kids with terrible sentence structure and spelling ability who are just like, rest in peace, you were my favorite character, even though you kissed Kimberly on the lips that one time. And I don't know, it's just, I can't believe this woman lost her daughter last year, her husband last month, and is now getting like harassment from deranged Power Rangers fans, man. It made me wonder a little bit, like, what was it about Tommy Oliver's character that like resonated with these people so much? Like, I don't know. I think it has something to do with something I alluded to before. The idea of, him being the bad guy when he first came in and he was super fucking badass. So badass he could beat up 5 Power Rangers by himself for the most part. And then the idea of him not only becoming a good guy, but then going on to be a leader and an example for the team and a legendary Power Ranger. I think that's why Tommy Oliver is the favorite of so many people and like why so many people are upset. Like childhood hero with like a great redemption arc story. And like even beyond that, even though those first couple of seasons are iconic, legendary to so many people in my age range, he's somebody who continued to stay involved with the franchise off and on for like 25 years. But he became the face of the franchise in a lot of ways, not only because his character was so popular, but because he was so like proud of the franchise and had no kind of qualms about embracing who he was. And I think that's why a lot of people related to him and liked him and looked up to him, was that he seemed like a very pure dude. And I don't necessarily mean pure in all the best ways, but he was who he was and very unapologetic about it. And people like that about him. I feel like I'm not doing a very good job talking about this, but the whole situation genuinely has bothered me. Not from the perspective of being a Power Rangers fan, because I'm not really a Power Rangers fan. 4 and 5-year-old me was, and that's about where it stopped. I don't know, man. You never know what somebody's going through. Check on your fucking friends. And don't feel entitled to go harass the man's fucking widow. It's so awful that we live in a world where I have to say that out loud because it's a thing that's happening. I think the internet has broken all of our brains. Couple more things I wanted to do before we wrap this episode. See what I did there? Wrapped. Spotify Wrapped. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, which you should be, it's at DB Super Dope. Go follow me. Over the course of this week, Spotify Wrapped stuff started coming out, so I have a lot of embarrassing musical selections because of all the anime shit I consume, and elevator music and all sorts of weird lo-fi jazz and Japanese metal. I got a lot of embarrassing things on there that I'm not sharing with my, my real people in real life. Because then they'll be like, what's wrong with this kid? We all know. Dragon Ball. But I posted like songs for each of the artists on like that Spotify list or whatever, and just gave like 1 or 2 songs per artist. Like, go check these out, whatever, right? But then I remembered there is a Spotify wrapped for podcasters. And I was like, oh, let's go see what the Super Dope one looks like this year. And I promise this won't be a long thing. I just really, really want to say thank you and tell you a couple of the stats that jumped out at me and made me feel very humbled and just like happy to be talking to you guys in this way. So I'm just going to read these to you as they're written, or else I'll fuck it up. Your podcast was in the top 5% most shared globally. Here's how your people spread the word. And then it gives me this multicolored donut with how you guys spread the word. Mostly Instagram and direct links. So that's cool. Your listeners' podcast personality is. So this is what Spotify had to say about you, the listener of Super Dope. The devotee. When your fans love a podcast, they really love it. They're quick to support new releases and play their favorite episodes over and over. I think of Victor when I read that because he knows the Super Dope catalog better than I do because he listens to things over and over all the time, he tells me. He'll ask me about specific things from like episodes from 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm like, I genuinely have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Help me out. So that was a cool one. The devotee. Your podcast saw a lot of gains this year. Cool. Up 98% in terms of listeners, up 89% in terms of hours listened, up 86% in terms of streams, and up 19% in terms of new followers. It's not awful, right? Could be better on the followers thing. If you don't follow us on Spotify, do that. Unless you listen on Apple Podcasts, then you're free. You're exempt from this assignment. This is the one that really got me. And this sort of like gives the game away in terms of like size of audience. I hate broadcasting shit like that because whether you like it or not, when you hear a podcast is smaller than maybe you think it is, you're like, oh, that's how big? Ooh, that's it. But I'm going to share these numbers with you because if you've gotten to this point in the episode, you're listening to me ramble, you must like me. I like you. You're cool. You can know the secret. You're a top 10 podcast for 955 fans. Top 10 is not bad. I'll take it. You're a top 5 podcast for 725 fans. Okay, cool. You're the number 1 podcast for 275 fans. Number 1 for 275 of you. Gotta be honest, dog. That feels good to know. I have had a lot of people tell me over the years that until they started listening to Super Dope, they didn't really fuck with podcasts. And that in some cases, we're still the only podcast they listen to. Other cases, people are like, yeah, now I listen to all sorts of podcasts. And I love that because I love the podcasting medium, right? But yeah, 275, we're your number 1 podcast according to Spotify. And that feels amazing. And thank you. And I appreciate you guys way more than you know. This past few months have been tough to keep making episodes for a lot of reasons. The content, or lack of content for Dragon Ball, chief among them. Obviously, there's other stuff I could be doing in, the last 40 years of Dragon Ball shit, but I've also just been really busy and really stretched thin. So I appreciate you guys hanging and sticking with a regular, irregular release schedule. And just tuning in when I got new ones. And, I say it all the time. Best way we can grow is if you share the show with your other Dragon Ball friends. Apple Podcasts ratings also, or reviews. That's the thing. Those are also very cool. But yeah, 275 of you. That number is not lost on me, and it. Thank you. Seriously. I guess while I'm here saying thank you, I may as well just say thank you to the supporters of this show who have been around for a long time, some of these names, and I love and appreciate every single one of them. Our patrons. This is where I would normally drop the music, but I'm not going to, because if I keep giving you the music every time I read the patrons' names, it's going to like degrade the overall quality or the overall effect of the song. So maybe the song will make an appearance at another point this month, maybe as an early Christmas treat. I don't have any Christmas show plans lined up for this podcast. Maybe I should do a Christmas show. Anyway, yeah, patrons. Roberto, Dallas Hokovich, Victor, Roman super fan of the show. Also, Tyson Trujillo, Tyson, my boy. So nice to have you back. I know I welcomed you back the last week, but Tyson's having another baby, him and his wife, in the next couple of days. Could be today. Could be happening right fucking now for all I know. Congratulations to you, Tyson. I appreciate you, man. Victor, I know I said your name already, but I meant to say this when I said your name. Victor had one of those Victor nights last week. I think it was for Thanksgiving. Victor got pretty lit up on Thanksgiving and tried to leave me a bunch of voice messages on our voicemail line. Victor was the first to discover the voicemail line is no more. So you can purge that shit from your head. 401-213-9596 is no longer a phone number. My bad. I don't know. I'm an idiot. And I didn't do the thing that I thought I did. You have to like make outgoing phone calls, I guess. And I didn't do that because that's not what it was designed for. And yeah, they were like, you haven't made any phone calls. I've received phone calls. I've received text messages. But they were like, you don't even fucking make outgoing calls. Fuck you, Kyle. And they canceled the number. Fucking censorship, man. Big tech. More like big bullshit. Not for real though. No more voicemail. I guess maybe just voicemail memos or whatever they're called. Voice messages on Instagram might be the best way to do that. I'll figure something out. Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? Appreciate you trying to leave drunk voice messages, Victor. Marcus Woods, my brother in Florida. David Cheers, Reese, Andriotis. And then, of course, the longest supporter of this show, basically since like the first month we launched a Patreon. This person has been to my house once. He's been on an episode of Super Dope. Lil Baby Jaren Dan. Lil Baby Jaren. I saw the total of money he's donated to the show yesterday, and I was like, fuck, man, that guy's a real one. For real. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/Dragon Ball Super Dope. It's all one word. You can click the link in the show notes if you want to support us. And then, I guess just real quick, Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania just dropped a new trailer yesterday. Indiana Jones 5 and the Dial of Destiny. The Dial of Destiny. I guess people are already goofing on that name, which I guess, like, how could you not? It's so easy to goof on with that alliteration built in, but also I'm never going to forget the name of that movie. Dial of Destiny, I think, is a solid name. I don't know what the fuck the Dial of Destiny is, but I assume the movie will explain it to me, and it probably has to do with Nazis. I really fucking hope I get to watch Indiana Jones punch a fucking Nazi in the mouth at least a few times in this new movie. Because we need that. We need that kind of imagery going back out into pop culture. Punching Nazis in the goddamn face. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Nazis. Not a specific black white supremacist who, for some reason, is claiming that he's being canceled left and right, although he has been on every single huge podcast and platform over the last month. Anyway, Indy 5 looks fun. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 looks sick. I hope Rocket doesn't die, but I bet you he's going to. And also the Guardians Holiday Special. If you haven't watched it, you should. That shit was really fun and heartwarming, and I liked it. And I bet you'll like it too, unless you don't, in which case, hey man, it's not for everybody. This is a weird episode of Super Dope. It probably feels like super disjointed and like all over the place. I've sat down to try to record this one a few times this week. I did 20 minutes of it last night. I think I said that earlier, but I've also gotten up and walked away several times while recording this one this morning. I don't know, man. My podcast brain feeling a little foggy. I don't feel super focused, but we are waiting for Jumpfesta. We are waiting for the next manga chapter. That'll happen roughly at the same point this month, the week of the 18th, Sunday the 18th. Hopefully we'll get an announcement. The manga will be out a couple days later. And we'll have new Dragon Ball stuff to look forward to. We'll probably have an episode or two in the meantime. I think me and Rayshaw might try to do a My Hero Academia thing next week. If you're not watching season 6, dog, you are robbing yourself of a fucking amazing experience. I have to honestly binge watch all of it to this point I forget, what is it, like 8 or 9 episodes in? I'm going to do the rewatch before me and Rayshawn record something next week. But, peak My Hero Academia. Better than some of the shit in the first few seasons. Like, I would have said season 2 and 3 were like peak shit. But this season's blowing everyone away. Oh my God. Anyway, that's it. Super dope. Appreciate you listening. I sing a song now, right? The song is I forget what song I'm singing sometimes. It's not true. I just forget what words I plan to sing. Also, syllables. Yeah, I don't know. Super dope. Gotcha, bitch. Think I wasn't gonna play this song? Nah, I wasn't gonna play it, but then I had to change a part. This is the end of this episode I released today, only on Patreon. It's for free. Basically, I don't release podcasts too late in the day. It's like bad practice. So the public cut will go out on Monday, but if you just enjoy getting this a few days early, want to support the show, sign up, motherfucker. We got a ton of stuff. Don't you like the show called Death Note? Plus some stuff about OG Dragon Ball and My Hero Academia. Not for real, there's a lot of stuff though, so sign up now, I'll sing the whole song. I can do this all day long, bro. I have this weird stretch of this song put up in my DAW where I edit my stuff, and it like, some parts are loud, some parts are soft, so I'm not sure, you know? Spotify. That's an old Dragon Ball thing. Anyway, I'm just talking through the quiet parts, but I'm gonna sing through the singing parts, you know what I mean? Because I was put on this track to do 2 things. Sing songs, talk about Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball, bitch. Anyway, yeah, this is all. This won't be on the public cut. This is a Patreon only thing. But if you got to the end and you found the secret song or whatever, like on a CD, good on you, dog. Means you like me. And you know what? I like you too. You know I fucking like you too. The end of the song's about to happen. This is Dragon Ball Super Dope. Patreon cuts are for every time. That was fucking funny. Super dope. Okay, goodbye for real. Goodbye. Sign up for Patreon. Goodbye.